Welcome to the Perceptive Readers, everyone. Hi, I'm James Lynch. Today we're going to talk about, for a topic, writing. Particularly a couple of things about it, from proofreading tips to the favorite times of writing. If you are a writer, what are your favorite times to write? Why do I feel the majority of you, if you have your options of choice, would start early in the morning? Because the brain is fresh. I know some of you may say, well, it's fresh after I get the cup of coffee or a cup of water to drink. Now, some of you probably just jump right out of bed. For myself, when I talk about coffee, and yes, I can drink a pot in a day if I want to. And as I said, I enjoy coffee. But all the same, when I first wake up in the morning and I talk about like a favorite pastime as far as the schedule of writing, during the cooler months, and that's why I'm going to talk about this subject today of proofreading, because I normally not only, write a little bit more during the cooler months, but also I like to review some things that will help me to, relate my thoughts more clearer. And speaking of that, it's a topic of best proofreading tips. An article that I wrote, and I've talked about it on the Perceptive Readers before. This one that I'm going to talk about again was written last year during September 10th, 2019, during that year. And I find out of the many conversations or writings that, I've done over the years about it, this one right here really has everything to jar my memory and things of that nature of best practices that I do for myself. And as I always mention, I get out this habit from, time to time. Really, I get out of it a lot. It's something about just writing short blurts all the time. But let me tell you, when it comes to really, wanting to write a thorough and concise article or journal entry, something that you want somebody to be able to take and not only gain value from it, because as you know, people can gain value from different styles of writing, but let's say they actually wanted to be able to still build upon that information and relate it almost in a legal sense, so to speak. Then that's when you want to use these best practices. Oh my goodness. Sometimes they said as in passing, which I've talked to ones in the past, people would say, hey, if it's a blog post, hey, it don't really matter. I might do that on the, the first go round or what have you. But when it comes to their books, they're nothing like that at all. They're very meticulous, line by line, sentence by sentence, letter by letter, practically. And that's one thing that I will continue to, mention to you. Have you ever heard the statement that there's no such thing as a perfect writer? Just real good proofreaders, you see. So, with that being said, that was the reason for this article. I'm going to share another tip with you that one person, I've known for some years. And boy, he's really, really good at it. He does something that a lot of people would say, no, I don't do it. I don't get my, I just like to get my thoughts out first, which no one is saying anything is wrong with that. But let me tell you, the way that this person's mind, works, he has this ability to not only get his thoughts out, very like the way that he wants them, and proofread at the same time. It's almost like We're not even talking page by page. We're talking almost like sentence by sentence, paragraph at the most. He's already going through, and that's just the way he writes. Been writing that way for years, and it works for him. And make no mistake about it, the man can write. So with that being said, I know probably over 90% of the writers don't do that. Again, they just get their thoughts out, any glaring mistakes or errors or what have you, they might fix it in, but for the most part, they try to just get the story to go along, But as I mentioned, some of you may have your brain that works that way where you can be like, whoo, I got to use that term, the creative juices again, are flowing. And as they get to flowing, it's like, hey, I can write this story and I can proofread at the same time. See, it just depends on what works for you. And that's why I stated about, what's your best time for writing? There have been days where, let me tell you, to have the beautiful sunshine and, and the wind, lightly blowing just right where, your paper's not going all over the place but if you're on the laptop, you don't have to worry about that at all. And the weather being just perfect with, a cup of coffee or tea, or something a little bit stronger. Yes, I know you all write your stories with that too. Don't you act like you don't. No. Anyway, so I'm just making a joke with you. So the whole point is, those are some of the most enjoyable moments for a writer. And when you're, once again, a creative mind and processes are just firing on all cylinders, you see, as the expression goes. And so with these cooler months, as I wanted to mention again, it is just good to review beforehand, some things that you already know, but maybe one or two little minor suggestions might come up that you say, I forgot. Yeah, that does work real good. And so, you'll be once again prepared with whatever papers you're going to put out. All right. With that said, let's go into this article. And I'm just letting you know it is on the PocbooksCrypto website called Best Proofreading Tips. And it was originally written by me back in September 10th, 2019. It went like this. Hello, writers. What are your proofreading tips? Let me tell you now. I'm writing this article to remind myself of the steps to take for more of my articles. You see, these steps take more time than a quick read through. Something I have a tendency to do a lot on my journal category articles. You may be shaking your head. I know. And the heading goes into this called Why Proofreading is Necessary. Proofreading is normally done after you are satisfied with your draft article or story. You are looking to edit misspellings, grammar, and punctuation errors. Does this sound like a simple process? Maybe. But is it that simple to carry out? It does not always feel like it, and this is one reason why we have professional editors, so as some say, after one or two proofreading edits on their own, and here, notice this quote, I no longer want to deal with the headache. Or, here's another quote, I'm glad my part is over and done. How many of you writers have felt that way? How many of you students in high school felt that way after some paper you were trying to turn in, and every time you look, you just got it all mocked up, then had to go back through it, and you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, here is the good word though. The headache that sometimes comes when you are proofreading a novel does not when you are writing a short 200 to 900 words, to long form blog posts between 1,000 to 4,000 words. Then you most likely will be able to complete the proofreading process without a headache, you see. Proofreading is important because it matches your thoughts with the words on paper or, the screen. So there will be no confusion. You don't like the way something reads or sounds, then tweak it once or tweak it twice, and there you will have your authentic thought exactly the way you wish it to be. And here's another heading called Best Proofreading Tips. A, take a break from the article, have a meal. Maybe you only need 15 minutes to an hour away. It helps having a day away from the article project. Therefore, it gives your brain time to rejuvenate overnight. I realize most may not need or desire to wait that long. It is good to know all the same. B, after your break, make sure to place your pencil, computer cursor, on each word methodically. Read it at a slower pace than what you have typed. You will see most mistakes right away by doing this. Spellings and punctuation will become evident. C, speaking of punctuation, I found proofreading your sentences backwards helps to find typos and missing punctuations as well. Be aware this can bring a strain for some, but I want you to know it is one of your options just the same. D, check your headings and subheadings. Did you place them in bold types and special fonts? Make sure the headings are all uniformed in the style you picked. Heading 2 through heading 5 and so on. E, read your masterpiece out loud. And F, take a break, coffee or tea, smile, and repeat the steps on your return. Now, the next subheading of that, I wrote how the above steps have helped me. The above tips I started using around 2014, but to this day, not on a consistent basis. I wish to use the above techniques more to keep all my articles in pristine reading shape for the perceptive readers. And I laughed a little bit, but there will continue to be times when I still post those from my mind to your mind journal articles and will not have used all the best proofreading tips displayed in the last heading. In fact, it seems to be saved mostly for in-depth tipped articles like this one. This is one of the reasons I decided to write this article, to help myself use these techniques more times throughout the month. Hence, when you see this article featured on my Minds page, that's minds.com, quite a bit, it is to remind me to implement these tips more even on my shorter articles and sidebar statements and news, something I can always work on each week, if not every day. With the above stated, please feel free to tell me in the contact form on the home page. Well, it's no longer on the home page, but I do have the Pockbooks Coffee Lounge area. If you look in the drop down menu, you'll see it. And that's the only place that I keep the comments section open all the time. I don't close it. I won't close it because it's for anybody who has a question or a conversation they want to get started. I mean, long as you're professional about it or what have you, you can talk about, or ask, practically a lot of, deep, subjects. Let me use the, expression gray area subject. Yes, that was loaded there. Anyway, so here we go. With the above stated, please feel free to tell me in the contact form on the homepage or coffee lounge area when I make a mistake in an article. See, I would really appreciate that. Hey, I don't mind it at all. If all of a sudden you saw an article and you say, hey, did you leave out a conjunction, some punctuation right here? Punctuations are normally easy to be able to tell that I know you left out a question mark or something or what have you, or really just something that had taken away what the thought, the intention, the authentic thought, as I explained it, where it makes it sound like it's something totally different, you see. Because as you know, you have a lot of freedom when you're writing blog articles to use, certain cultural idioms and stuff like that. No, we don't want to change those, but, just outright, grammar mistakes that really take away from totally understanding what that sentence was. Hey, you can easily just drop that sentence down in the comment, with the link or what have you. Say, hey, did you see that there? And then, hey, I can just fix it. And I would be grateful for it. All right. Now, let me go ahead and continue. In concluding thought tips. Okay. This is the last paragraph. Just allow me to thank you readers for sharing and spending time each day to enhance, some people say enrich, your life by finding and taking value to others. Yes, sharing is caring. Always do your best to have a light shining in your heart and mind. Hey, you need that as part of the best proofreading tips as well. Yes, as you write, remember I told you, writing can be quite pleasurable. As many writers have found out, haven't you heard some of them even express, writing saved his life. Writing saved her life. Other persons have said, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have writing. And you've heard me say this before. I never really expressed it in quite that way. But make no mistake about it. When there's a different story or project or blog post or something that I'm working on, and once I get to going, oh my goodness, it's a pleasure, you see, or what have you. And I actually do again have a couple of poetry type of even non-fiction combination books right on my mind right now. And I mean, it is something that I really, every time I think about it, I just said, man, this is just very interesting. Something I can really throw my mind into. But in the process, like I normally try to do, to make sure that if I start writing something, I'd like to make sure I have plenty of backups. So I'm doing a lot of rearranging, because at one time I used to have, my, documents and everything just kind of all over the place on, even 6 or 7 different types of drives and stuff. And oh my goodness, I thought I had them categorized, and I know this is a side thought, but yet you start finding that, okay, I got a table of contents list or index list of things for this drive, and then over that drive, and then it's something because, once things go into the archive process, sometimes you even throw that list or table of contents with that drive. And there are actually right now some, hard drives, that I have that I'm like, man, I think I better go look back through on some of those things. I probably got some good stuff in there. Well, I know I do, but all the same, what I'm now just trying to do is, consolidate it all just really in one area, but just making sure that all the backups and the replication can still just go to all these several different places, you see, so that you have redundancy and you won't lose anything. But you want to make sure too, in this day and age, and this is what, we'll be reading up on even more again is the type of security again, because the internet and the processes, the CPUs and stuff of everything now, especially with the Internet of Things. Let me tell you that it's very, very interesting. The type of access sometimes, persons can get that really, you wonder how in the world they got it or what have you. And so I'm just letting you know that as a writer, as you're writing your masterpieces and things of that nature, you may not always be able to keep everything so confidential like you desire. But I tell you what, if you still have enough redundancy in your backups, where things are going here and there, or what have you, and you have, several copies working that way, then you can always prove something that, this is still my work. This is my work, you see. And you got it in all these different areas. So that's another tip I'll just share with you. And so with that being said, I want to emphasize again, always do your best to have a light shining in your heart and mind. And I will encourage you again and thank you again as well for listening to the Perceptive Readers podcast and sharing it with new people every day, whether it's on your coffee break or lunch break, as you pull up this podcast and say, hey, have you heard this podcast? It's called the Perceptive Readers. Or, you could always, you might not have my card on you or what have you, but maybe you could just write it on a napkin or something and just say, go look this one up and give it to them. Or give it to her. Okay? So thank you as always. And I just want you to have a very pleasant day, afternoon, meals, cocktail, happy hour. Hey, wonderful night's rest. You take good care of yourself. Goodbye.